I hear crying babies upstairs. Must be nap time. All right. With the feet together and the hands atop the head, let's start with our hip circles. If it's your first class, start out nice and slow, hitting each part of your foot as you roll. If it's your second class, you can roll into a little more rapidly and start playing a bit more with the counterbalance of the upper body compared to the lower. Good, making sure you're leading from the hips. That belt line is pulling you all the way around your circle. And two more. Good, changing directions. Again, starting out nice and slow, hitting each part of the foot as you roll. As you warm up, increase that pull from the belt line, traveling further and further around that base. And two more. Good, returning to the center, stepping out a little, drawing the umbilicus towards your spine, keeping the back straight, pivoting the hips back as the torso sinks, forward as the torso raises. For more of a challenge, you can bring the hands to the center of the chest. For more challenge still, the hands can come behind the ears. Two more. Very nice. Hands on the hips, same starting posture. Back straight as we sink, lift and looking at the ceiling. Back straight as we sink, lift and twist, looking to the ceiling, and continue. Two more. Good. Opening that stance a little more, back straight. If you can manage, back straight and parallel with the ground. Twisting and looking past your foot. Two more. One, two. Good. Coming back to standing. All right, with the stance a little wider than shoulder width. Once again, rolling around that base. Keeping a slight bend in both the knees at all times, really working to not lock out the legs. Once you feel this pattern smooth, you can start adding in the dip. But as you add in that dip, make sure you're still traveling all the way around that base on each roll. 2 more on this side. Changing sides. Again, starting in a more vertical position. Find that balance. Find your base. Then adding that dip. 2 more. Last one. Good. Shaking out the legs, bringing the feet together, and circles. Other direction. Back to the middle, forward, open, and back. Back to the middle, back around and forward. Last one. Good. With a pretty good side step to the side, step and lift, step and lift, pulling yourself to the side as you raise your foot. 1. 2 more. Very nice. Wider stance. As I turn to your right, the front leg bends a little, the back leg straightens. My arms are raised. As I twist, I want to feel that twist travel through my chest, into my belly, into my hip, into my stretched leg, pulling the foot up. I feel that stretch in my heel. And this last little bit of movement, I pull the heel like stuck in the mud, kick and back. If I face forward, notice how it's not a straight kick. I can't kick straight. The ground's in the way. There's a little bit of an arc as I lift, okay? So a few times on this side before we go together, play with that stretch, draw the belly to the spine, knit those clavicles, feel that pull traveling down your leg to dislodge that foot. Good, Galen. Bend to the front leg a little more. Good. Feel that draw to your spine. Excellent. That's it. Good. And try to feel each region stack on top of the next as you pull down towards that foot. I got you. Take it easy. Be careful. Be careful. Good, Craig. That's great, Galen. Slow is good. Slow is good. Very nice, Rachel. But trying to move the weight forward as much, Rachel. There you go. Good. Keep your head level. Good. Same thing for Margot. Margot, as you kick, watch my head in relation to the bookcase behind me. See how little movement there is side to side or up and down? There you go. Good. Very nice. Let's do 5 more of these together. And E, R, San, Si, Wu. Other side. Same thing. Play with that stretch. Play with that pull traveling down your body to the raise and back. Again, notice how I'm not standing up as I kick. The depth of my front leg is the same. Just I take that brace forward and back, pushing deep into the grounding leg as I kick. There you go, Margot. That's great. Very good, Craig. Good head height, Carol. Very good, Rachel. That's it. Everyone try 3 more of those. Your own pace. Good, and now 5 of them together, using that stretch. E, R, 3, 4, 5. Excellent, shake it out. Okay, we're gonna use a little bit of work with our leg sweep releasing pattern. You find her down a little so you get the full movement. So I decapitate myself. So I'm gonna do it facing forward first, then to the side so you can all see. My front foot steps in front, my hands follow. My back foot steps behind, my hands follow. Now, in one movement, I'm gonna turn, twist, and sink. And so it's not sink, twist, and lift. It's one movement. Now there's a great big coil, twisting around to my back. See that? So the shoulder is pulling back. From here, as I continue that twist, I'm gonna brace off of my back leg. The front leg draws up and steps behind. So we want that twist to guide us into that lower stance and carry us around back all at once. The side view so you can see, I step in front, I step behind. The sink has a twist. That exact same twist carries me all the way back. Okay, so what we're trying to avoid here is 1, 2, twist, then preload to step. We want to be 1, 2, step, okay? Everyone try that a couple times at their own pace. Good, Galen. Good, Margot. Take a second in that twist, Margot, as you come through. Watch me. I don't need to go low, but I am pushing into that back foot. See the toes up off the toes on the ground, the heels up. I press down. As I turn, I'm going to pivot into that heel drop. Let me turn the camera down just a little. So hard to see down here. See? Ball of the foot's up. Here's my twist. As I continue that twist, I pivot into the heel drop, into the step back. Pivot. There you go. Smoother. That was great. There you go, Margot. That was much better than that bracing foot. No, it's good. That's good. It's better pivot. That's everything. Beautiful, Rachel. You got this. Good, Rachel. Now the key for you is feel that twist in different regions of your body. So now as you come through, feel things more in your quads as you twist and maintain that level as you step back. So no bobbing up. Maintain that lower level as you turn and step. Feel that change in challenge? That's the next step for you. Good. And then as you stabilize, Rachel, from that depth, then you can drop it down again and drop it down again. Your knees will adjust over, not immediately today, but take your time. And that will build the strength and coordination. All right, Carol, let's see one. Good, Carol. Use that twist a little more, Carol. So as I step 1, I step behind. See how much my shoulders are twisting? As this shoulder pulls back, my whole body is going to follow this shoulder around to the step. So 1, the shoulder reaches, I catch my shoulder. I catch up with the shoulder as I step behind. There you go. Shoulder first, then belly, then hip, Carol. That's better, Carol. Very nice. Good, Craig. It's looking good, Galen, when you're doing it. That's looking nice. So, anyone have any questions on this?
Yeah. Are you stepping, is your back foot going behind your front foot, or is it going out to the side?
Great question. Is it okay if you find this okay?
Yeah.
So I'll do it forward and then to the side, okay? So I step across, right? So same plane across, then step up. Now both feet are on the same plane, okay?
Okay.
As I pivot, that's the twist. And this is the depth of stance that I will maintain for the rest of the exercise. So as the shoulder pulls back, I continue that twist. There's the step and back. And now it's kind of like a box step, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the 2 back ends of the box. Those are the 2 front ends of the box. I step up on the front of the box. I step to the other front corner of the box. I twist, and as I draw back corner of the box, okay? So again, front corner, twist, back corner. From the side view, front corner, twist, back corner. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah, that helps. Thank you.
Of course, yeah. A lot of the Schweijiao techniques take place on a box framework. And we'll do some of the basic footwork for that in just a second. That's a good point to bring up. Good, everyone, try one more. Margot, that's great. That ground foot's looking really smooth. That was the opposite direction, Galen, but the right idea. Okay, everyone, shake it out and watch me for a second. We're gonna play with the basic step behind this, all right? So if my feet are here on a box, right? This is the back corners of the box. I'm gonna step towards the front corners of the box. So the foot steps in front of the other on the box, back foot comes to the other side of the box. It's gonna twist facing that direction, and lead off with the other foot. So I step left first that time. This time I step right first. Corner, back behind corner, twist. Left foot leads, front corner, twist. Right foot leads, step across, step behind, twist. Right foot leads, step across, step behind, twist. Left foot leads, across, behind, twist. Right foot, across, behind, twist. Keep playing with that for a moment. If you want to add in the shoulder throw that goes in on this, you're welcome to. If you already know it. That's it, Rachel. There you go, Margot. Good, that's it. Good, Craig. Very nice, Caro. Very nice, Caro. And Kira, let's see.
I lost the footwork.
No worries, I'll get back. Okay, very close to you. So we'll do a side view. So here I am on the back corners of the box. My left foot steps in front of my right. My right foot steps behind the left. They're both on front corners of that box. Pop, I turn. Left foot in front of the right. Right foot comes behind and to the side of the left. Turn. Good. So pick one foot, put it in front of the other on a front corner of your box. The other foot comes behind that foot on the other front corner of the box and untwist the hips. Perfect, that's it. Keep playing with that. Step up and in front of your first foot. The back foot steps behind to the side of the front foot. Pivot, and there you are. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There you go, Kira. Very good. Excellent. You're doing great, Galen. You're doing great. Footwork is forever the most tricky part, especially over Zoom. Good, good. Everyone do 2 more of these, and we're going to do the second variation of this, and a couple more of our full leg sweep release. Then we'll move on to something else. And if the gods are kind, my voice will hold. Cool. Okay, everyone, watching me for a second. So we've done the behind step, which is nifty. Now we're going to do the in front step, which is in some ways more challenging. So again, my feet are on the back corners of my box. I'm still going to start the same. Up and in front of the back foot. And now the back foot is going to step up and in front of the other foot, but same twist. From the side view, see the feet are vertically in line. Up and in front and turn. 1, reach, turn. 1, reach, turn. Step, reach, turn. Step, reach, turn. Good, give that a try. There you go, Marco.
On this one?
Oh, Rachel?
Is there still the scoot on this one? The snap?
Not for this one, no, this one's different. Yeah, good question. The scoot is this is more, I've come in here, there's my catch, I'm stepping around, different kind of throw, okay? Good. Very nice, very nice. 2 more of those. Good. So the stepping pattern is making a bit more sense now? Awesome. And now just twice more each side. Let's go back to our first pattern, the leg sweep release. Watching me again. It's on a box step. Step up, step behind. There's the twist, same setup, and then draw the leg back. Okay? Side view again. Step up, step behind, twist as I sink, continue that twist as I step. There you go, Galen. And the one little change, Galen, make sure the foot is being lifted. The front view so you can see. So this leg rests on top of the other in the transition. That's the only piece you're missing, okay? That's it. That's perfect. That is the basic setup for this movement. Play with that a few times every day, and you'll be, you'll pay great dividends. This is also a lovely movement for hip opening. There you go. Good, good. Starting off in high stance is great. As the weeks go by, try to sink down a few degrees every week. You'll have your butt in the ground in a couple months. That was the opposite, the right idea. Yes, that was great, Galen. Okay, everyone, shake that out for a second. It's like, oh, say, Carol, can I see you do one more, Carol? Good, Carol. So, Carol, one exhalation, one smooth movement. Step, step, and back, okay? Step, step, back. There you go. Remember, any pause in your movement is a chance for me to find my balance and get the advantage over you. It has to be one smooth move from the ground, pulling me off my base. There you go. In all of your imagination, you're always throwing someone who's a lot heavier and probably more skilled. Okay, that way the technique is just that much more important. The technique is perfect. That's how I always train. I'm always imagining playing someone who's better and bigger than me. Good. Very nice, everyone. Shake it out for a second. Any questions so far? Nice work. A quick sip of water. We'll do a bit more work on hip opening and then into some form work. And Rachel, in fighting, it's actually worked out pretty well because I have fought a lot of people who are both better and bigger than me. And if your basics are good, and if you understand how your own body reacts, you can typically find ways in.
I really like this stuff.
It's my favorite.
Me too.
No, and the Shuai Jiao is kind of the beating heart. Like if you get that Shuai Jiao base, you get the flexibility, the strength, and the coordination to tackle anything else that follows. It's a really lovely kind of bottom line derivative movement for all the interval Gong Fu we play with.
Yep, and it's super fun.
Oh yeah, yeah, and then the physicality that it builds is just superb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. All right, is everyone ready to do some new stuff? Sweet. We're gonna do Dong first, then Kwa. Dong is the back of the leg, kind of the hamstring area. Kwa is that inguinal groove. And so Dong and Kwa are the two regions of hip we tend to kind of roll through in our more complex movement sets. And the Dong, there are several Dong opening exercises that I really like. Some are more challenging on the knees than others. We're gonna do a fairly basic one today. It's basic in terms of the stretch. It's complicated in terms of the choreography. So as you watch me, raising up opposite hand to foot, I'm gonna step out at an angle, start nice and high. As the high hand presses, like I'm compressing things into my belly, and the front hand scoops out. So we're gonna start with that. So everybody so if my left leg is up, your right leg will be up, and your left hand will be high. Very Shaolin-y looking posture. As you step out with that raised leg, the weight stays over that back leg. And watching me again, I wanna condense and roll. So I'm not just gonna scoot, I want to pressing into my stance. As I press though, you wanna make sure that your hips are still in a line, your butt isn't sticking out. So if you can only sink down to here, that's fine. And then use that pressure to scoop and lift. On the scooping hand, The little finger side leads, and see how it's a blade of a palm, not a flat hand like this. I'm scooping and raising up. So again, with that left hand high, right leg raised, that right leg steps out to the side, pressing into your back leg, pressing into that left leg, and then scooping through the hips, belly drawing to the back, raising that forward hand. Good, and again with me, just that first little part. Leg raises, hand up. Stepping out with the raised leg, weight still over that back leg, pressing into your belly and hip, scooping through. Good, and watch me for a second. So from here, I've done this for a little while, so as I press down, I can get pretty close to the ground. This took me a while to get here. Pushing through my belly. See, I'm rolling through the hips, opening the hips as I roll through. The next part of the sequence, the arms pull behind my front leg. That pull draws that back leg in front. The other leg steps over, and I've changed sides, okay? So we're gonna do the roll to transition a couple times, see how that plays out, and then we'll go from there. Sound good? Awesome. So that left hand high, that right leg high, stepping out, press, scoop. The weight is now forward over your right leg. The arms pull to your right, pulling that back left leg around. It steps in front of the right. From here, the right leg steps up and over in front of the left. The hands turn, right hand raises, left leg raises. And from that other side, that left leg steps out. As that right hand presses, we push into our hip, scooping with that left hand, drawing to our left, pulling that right leg around. That left foot steps up in front and over the right. Left hand raises up, right leg raises. Good, so opposite hand to foot are raised. Stepping out with the raised leg. Press to scoop. Pulling that back leg around. Stepping up and over the front leg. The back hand raises up and the front knee raises up. That front leg steps out, pushing down, raising up, pulling behind your body so the back leg can step around. The new back leg lifts and steps over. The back arm raises high, as does the front knee. Good. And everyone watch me for a second. So I sequence this out. I roll, draw, step, raise, roll, draw, step, to raise. Who here is feeling totally lost so far? Great. Because when I learned this, I was absolutely, completely lost for a couple of years. You're all doing far better than me. Let's try it once more together, then I'll watch all of you. Okay? So the back hand raised up and the front knee raised. Once more together, the raised knee steps. Keeping that weight back, press to scoop. Draw behind, pulling that back leg around. The new back leg steps up and over. The back hand raises and the front knee raises. Stepping out with that front knee, press to scoop. Pulling around behind as that back leg steps. The new back leg steps up and over and raise. Good. Let me see each of you do your best version of this a couple of times. Rachel?
People can pin me if they need a view.
Sweet. Thank you, Rachel. Good, Margot. Pull your left leg around. There you go. Good. Right leg steps up and over in front. Yep. Raise that right arm. Perfect, Margot. Nailed it. Great. Yeah, that's the footwork. That's the hardest part. Once you get the footwork, then we can work on the stretch. Good. So Craig, pushing down that center line, Craig. Push as you raise. Push to scoop. It's like we have an entity here, and we need to carry that object to here, so we're pushing it and then scooping it out the other side. There you go. That's going to roll you into your hips. You feel that difference? You want to use that press of the hand to pull through your waist. Caro, that's looking awesome. Let me see one more, Caro. That's awesome, Caro. And Kira. Good, Kira. Stepping out, pressing down with your right hand. Close, close to Kira, watching me. This was great. The step out was great. Like I was telling Craig, I have an object here that I'm trying to scoot to there. And so as I press down, it rolls through. So from here, as I step out, I press down the center line and then scoop out through the hips. I'm rolling through that base. This is the exercise that we're really playing with, is getting into that core and rolling through with that belly button drawn to the spine. If the hips go back, I miss the hips, all the pressure goes in my vertebra. If I keep that belly button in a line, all this roll opens up my hip sockets and gives me space to move around and through. Does that make sense?
How about the SI joint?
How's that feeling?
It's okay. This one in particular feels like it's a big stretch in that area.
It's a huge stretch. I'm explaining this one in a second. So I'm gonna do two more, then I'll talk to Galen for a second about that, okay?
Thanks.
Yeah, of course. And Rachel, let's see. There you go, Rachel. Good. Very nice, very nice. Okay, any questions before I get to Galen's? Feeling pretty good? So, quick history on this. When I started going to Beijing, and again, my little sister can well attest, I had terribly inflexible hips and low back, right? Like it's a congenital issue. I was born with a very tight low back. I spent my whole life kind of stretching it into my hips. I'm still not there yet, but you know, it's now a work in progress that is making progress, as opposed to before I really started with China. And when I started working with Master Zhong Shuian, that was the real hindrance. It wasn't my focus, my dedication, or my pain tolerance. That was all fine. It was that parts of my body just didn't work right. And that was a huge frustration, as I intellectually made it to a certain point, my body just couldn't carry me through, okay? And so this is one of the exercises that he gave me to get into my low back, integrate it into my hips, and begin to open those joints up. And what he would say is just, you know, do this 10 times each side, every day. If you do this every day and play with that roll for the hips, it'll massage the joints. It'll help to give you as much space as you can possibly get out of your hips. It'll help define a coordination that keeps your knees safe in particular, and your hips safe, right? SI joint stuff, Galen, as you build the strength and coordination whilst massaging everything open. And so it's not a cure-all for hip and knee problems, but it's a really nice tool to have in your quiver, okay? And for me, it's been absolutely invaluable. At this point, I have decently flexible legs. You know, I still have work to do, but I'm at a point where I can do everything that I need to do at a level that is no longer embarrassing to my teachers in China. And it took about a year of this, honestly, to get that. And the quad exercise I'm gonna show you all next was the second half of that picture that really saved my low back and saved my hips, okay? The goal here, if you're facing an injury, is never to go into the pain. You want to kind of circle around the pain. You want to make sure you're massaging things out without ever feeling anything sharp. And then after you've done all this work from the two classes, Galen, have Kira check your leg length. If it's short, just rolling that hip to a sharp draw back, it needs to pop back into place. I can talk to you about that for a second after class. If it's tight in the socket, then when we get home, I'll give you some tools to play with that too. Sound good? Awesome.
Thank you.
Of course, yeah. Any other questions so far? Cool. Yes,
Yeah.
Carol, please.
I have a question. I feel like I'm still like leaning too far forward.
Mm-hmm.
I'm drawing with the snake roots down.
Right. And so for this one, for Dong, as you press, you're pressing yourself into your leg, but also into your belly. And that's the key. If it were just the leg, there'd be nothing about the middle, right? There'd be nothing about the yow or the region through here. And you would do a thing like this, right? There'd be a big lean. I can get nice and low like this, but all the pressure's on my knee, and eventually the knee is going to explode, right? Which is the opposite of what is good. And so as I sink in, I want to maintain that belly pull so that as I sink down, you see how my hips are still in line. And today I'm a little stiff because I've been sick for a few days. And so this is about as deep as I can comfortably sink. And so now I'm going to use the exercise to get that little bit deeper. And so as I press, I'm pulling the belly, I'm pulling into my joints, and drawing that pressure through. Can everyone kind of see that? And so this is my comfortable depth. I use that pressure to sink just a little more in as I reach and stretch. And so every roll through, I'm getting into my hips, kind of rolling through that area and building that range of motion. Does that help, Carol?
Yeah, I'm wondering, so would it be good for me to work with a wider stance and then just like focus on that like spine alignment, and then when that's good, shorten it up again?
Totally. And you can always vary the width of your stance as you play with this. The most important thing is that spine drawing and being in alignment, those hips, like Margot's doing right now, keeping those hips in alignment there. Because if the hips leave, all that pressure, that low stance lodges right in your patella, and that can cause some wicked knee pain, right? If your hips are in alignment, then you're carrying that pressure in your quads, and your quads will develop. They might get sore, but they're not going to explode on you. And so you always want to make sure you're doing quad movement and hip opening movement as opposed to isolating pressure in your kneecaps. Does that help a little bit? Awesome, awesome. And so next up for Kwa, and Kwa is that inguinal. For Kwa, we're going to use a movement called snake creeps down. Classic Baguazhang movement. It's hard to get the exact right capture for this one. It's difficult in this room. Okay, cool. The first piece here from the Chung Bagua perspective, which is how I learned this, is the arm pressing up. We start our fingertips up and the arm outreached, like this. And then from here, pushing out the heel of the palm, I'm going to pivot. If you watch my shoulder, it's going to carry my shoulder up and over into a position that is not entirely comfortable, okay? I can feel the space here in the insertion of the pectoralis minor, the muscle that wraps around the top of my chest here, as I reach and press out. And it's such that if a person were to push on my arm, my whole body would move in reaction to that pressure. It's like I'm walking out my own arm. This is important because I want a very stable structure so I can isolate all the movement on the region I'm trying to get into. I don't want this loosey-goosey. That would take pressure away from the hips I'm trying to dig into this exercise. Does that make sense? Awesome. And so from here, that hand pivoted, once again, I'm sinking into the leg and rolling. Reach, twist, turn. That turn is what carries things into the quad. Without that turn, it's more of a back of the leg. With that little bit of turn in, I open up the hip, and now I'm dealing with the front of my hip. As I turn, it turns that hip in, and then I roll through using that pressure to stabilize my back. Thumb side up with the reaching hand, turn. As that hand twists, it twists my hip in. Facing side of the camera so you can see the hip twist a little more easily. My fingertips are up. As I twist, there's that turn. See how that back hip rolls in, that little bit of internal rotation like we do in our warm-ups? Drawing through to reach. There's that hip turning in, pushing into the ground, drilling, rolling through to the other side. There's that hip turning in, pressing out with the heel of the hand, rolling through to the other side. And I feel a really intense stretch and opening right here at the front of the inguinal as I play with this. Good, Craig, make sure you're twisting the arm first, twisting the arm to lock before you roll through the hip. Twist, then roll. Twist, then roll. Good, one last piece, Craig. From here, start the hand on the quad, scraping down the inside of your leg to lift. Again, watch as I scrape through. There's my foot, past the foot to reach. Because you're so bendy, make sure you're reaching all the way down that leg to your foot, Craig. There you go. Watch me again, Craig. My back arm locks out. I'm at my foot, past my foot, arcing up. There you go. Good. Using that pressure of the outreach hands. Let's try this all together. Feet with a nice wide base. Arms up to the side. On all of your left side, my wiggling wrist. Fingertips start up. As the hand pivots, I drill with that pivot into the hip. Other hand comes to the top of the quad. We're gonna a nice high one first. Reaching down the leg. See how I'm not going low because I want those hips to stay in alignment. I can get to about mid-shin from here. And then reaching up. I'm now over my opposite leg. As I turn that hand in, the hip pivots. And the foot can move too to make it more comfortable if you want, that's fine. Pushing that hand away. Other hand comes to the top of the hip. Reaching down. Again, when I started, this is about as deep as I could go in China. Get to about that mid-shin. Scoop. And pull through. And now I'm weighted over the other leg. That far hand, this raised hand turns, rolling me in my hip. Hand returns to the quad. Keep that hip in alignment as we scoop and roll. Turn that hand and hip in. Hand comes to the top of the hip. Scoop. See that stretch? And then follow that stretch through. Hand turns, hip turns. Back of the hand comes to the quad. Scoop. Keep pressing out that high hand and roll. Go try 2 more on your own. That's great, Galen. Good, Kira. A little more press out, Kara. Press out with that top hand. Really push. Good. Very nice, Margot. Very nice, Craig. Rachel. Stretch, roll. Stretch, roll. So you find that stretch and you carry it through your hip joint. Do you feel that? There you go. Feel that difference? It shouldn't feel grindy, but it should feel like it's opening and creating space every time you pull through. Okay? Everyone shake that out for a second. Shake out your legs. How are your legs doing? Everyone doing okay? That one was the first movement that Master Ni taught me when I became his disciple. He taught me a lot of stuff before I became his disciple, but once I was actually his responsibility, that's where he started over with me. Because again, my hips were terrible and they needed fixing. And so for months and months, it was, that kind of thing.
And Joey, sorry, what's this one called?
This is called Snake Creeps Down.
Snake Creeps Down.
Mm-hmm. And there are lots of iterations of Snake Creeps Down, but this is just the Chung Bagua version for beginners. When it gets more complex, you can see real fast, you get our Kobu Baibu version, which is frankly my favorite version. It's just more complex and difficult to teach. And here I have the Kobu, the twist yields the movement, step, twist, and the movement rolls through. But now you have the added complexity of the Kobu Baibu. And why add that in? We're still working on the basics of getting into the hip, right? Yeah. But again, this and the Dong, D-O-N-G exercise we did before, which comes from Liang Bagua, I find work really well and synergistically to better open, relax, and stabilize the hip. Any questions so far? Cool. And again, with all things like this, because you're putting pressure on your legs and potentially pressure on your knees, start in high stance, start gentle. Do a couple every day. Make sure your knees are doing okay day from day. If they're not, ask me questions in our classes. If they are, over time, gradually lower it down, increase the repetitions, increase the intensity of it. But the important thing as you move through is that as you stretch down, you want to catch that feeling in the hips. Those are in Tai Chi, like catching the muscles in the back, and then carry that feeling through. Make sure you're coordinating the hips with the rest of your body so your hips stop acting like independent entities. A lot of the students I've worked with over the years are really good at coordinating their hands, pretty good at coordinating their feet, have absolutely no idea how to move anything from here to there in a reasonable way, right? And so as you build that understanding, just take time.
And Joey, what was this called, you said?
So K-U-A, Kwa is the inguinal line.
Okay.
Yeah. And D-O-N-G, Dong, is the back of the leg hamstring. Great questions, great questions. The terminology just takes repetition and time. Any other questions?
Breakdowns on those on your channel?
What's that?
Is there breakdowns on those on your channel?
There should be. If you can't find them, let me know. And Caro, where is it? Here we go. I'm going to dig out the stick form name for you today from the Great Big Tome of Bagua. I'm going to try to get a few minutes tonight to
Oh, cool.
find that for you.
I was curious because there's, there's like, if there's just the one goon form or if there's multiple ones or.
There's only one goon form. There are multiple spear forms. There's Chishingar, and that's a flexible 7-star stick. And there are 2 forms of that are beautiful. And that's the stick that you wrap around targets. But there's only one gun.
Cool.
Yeah. And I know Gar for Liang Bagua. I don't know it for Chung. We'll see if I ever get to pick that one up.
The idea is like the material that you get with the first gun form, you can just carry that and just.
Ideally, if we're teaching this right, every single piece should be a new kind of step towards a greater understanding of how your body moves. And so, yeah, the gun's taught first because it is the simplest mechanically. Even if it's not simple form, but all the pieces are pretty accessible when you start out. Yeah. Cool. Everyone's still doing okay? Everyone's knees okay? Have a little bit of a break? Awesome. So doing some more tea, so I can keep talking? What's that?
They're tired.
Yeah. We're done going low. And that's the thing.
Just like a couple days using weights, my traps and my like lats are just like totally sore.
Isn't that fun? No, I have these memories walking through the temple after class. Like my legs would just feel like 2 tight guitar strings, like the strings been tightened too much. And every step I feel like it's twang, twang, twang in all of my muscles because everything was just so fatigued.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna have to actually stretch now. So.
So everyone watches me for a second. The first movement of the form we're going to play with is a press, roll, step. From a side view, press, roll, step, serve. So again, just the arms, roll, and serve. Roll, and serve. The idea is if there were something coming in, reaching towards me, I would come to the side of it, roll around it, and then find a line towards that partner's neck. Okay, so the palms start here and push rice mill. Good. Good. Watch me go nice and slow. I'll face towards the camera. I roll over. My palms are facing down. I scoop. My palms come facing up. The hand comes a little close to the body, and then I reach. Good. Shepherd boy points the way. Roll, scoop, reach. Good. Roll, scoop, reach. Twice more with me. Roll, scoop, reach. Roll, scoop, reach. Good, try a couple on your own. Good, Rachel. You want the arms to retract a little following the roll, so watch. This might be easy to see. I'll just one hand so you can see. Roll, and see how my hip is rolling to the side. And now as I come back in, the hand draws in just a little, and the hip goes back as the hand goes forward. Roll, hand and hip come together, hand and hip push apart. Roll, hand and hip come together, press away.
And are your feet parallel on the floor throughout it all?
It's too low. Too much. There we go. So in the actual form, Margot, there's a kobu to a step out. But for practice purposes, I'm just keeping the feet parallel so you can play with the upper body first. Much better, Rachel. Good, and Craig, make sure you start in guard every time, Craig. Roll, press. There you go, back to guard. Roll, press, back to guard. That's the idea, Galen. So Galen, watching me. If the offending object's coming in, see my hips just turn, and then from that turn, the arm and hips continue, press. Hips turn, roll to the belly, hips and arm leave each other. There you go, good. The side view, hips turn, then rolling the shoulder just a little, and back to moving from the hips. Good. Front hip pulls back, that's the turn, rolls to the middle, and through. And so you watch my base, when I do the full movement, it's an externally rotating figure 8 base, right? External rotation of the front leg, external rotation of the back leg, front leg, back leg. Front leg, back leg, front leg, back leg. Front back, front back. Back, front, back. There's a bit more leg movement than you'd imagine, right? Those last two are a little bit more condensed, right? And that's that kind of acceleration from big circle into small circle. It's harder doing 50-50 weighting, but that is the actual body coordination. With the Kobu Bai, what kind of makes more sense if you watch Galen, because from here, there's the Kobu. See, there's external rotation of that front hip, back, front, back. The Kobu kind of spaces it out more easily. With 50-50 though, front, back, front, back. Front, back, elbow comes in, second front, elbow leaves hip, second back. Walk front, begin drawing the arm in back, arm finishes drawing up for the second front, arm serves out, second back. There, does that make more sense? Cool. Good, Craig. Let's see how Caro's doing. Nice, Caro. And Margot. Good, Margot, good. I'm watching Margot. Front, back, second front, second back. Front, back, second front, second back. And so everyone relax for a second and face me. The first hip roll is our stable orbit, the figure 8 that we could do in perpetuity. The second hip roll is our breaking of orbit towards a target, right? And so that first orbit is nice and smooth, it's easy to feel. The second orbit is sharper, right? And has that pop out at the end, which is why it feels so weird as you start to get into it. Let me see if I can get the camera right so you can see enough of my body for this to make sense over Zoom. I'll just decapitate myself for the sake of learning. So from here, I'll do the side view first. Here's that catch. I'm guiding that in. I need a big movement to block the arm that's coming towards me, a big movement to guide it to the side, a small movement to find the opening, and a small movement to find the vector of attack. Big movement to block, big movement to clear, small movement to tease out the opening, small movement to strike in. And so it's big circle, little focusing circle, little spiral to strike. Does that make some sense, theoretically? Awesome, awesome. With that in mind, play with it a couple of times.
Is it same side, lead, hand, and leg? Front.
Same side, lead, hand, what? Hand, what?
Is it same side, lead, hand, and leg?
Yes, absolutely, Caro. So again, from me, for watching me. Lead hand, lead leg. Externally rotate. Second circle, I'm finding my target. Sorry, third circle, finding my target. Fourth circle, stabbing out and through. Okay? Is it making some sense, Rachel? Good, it's looking good. There you go, Rachel. See, there's that little bit of drill at the very end. Good. And everyone relax for a moment. So I know I say this a lot and it's not hyperbole. This movement takes time. It took me a whole lot of time. My teacher said that it would take me 3 to 5 years to get good at it. And he was about correct. You know, it took me about that long to figure out the hip movement beneath it and the change in orientation for the circles and how to focus it in. I am teaching it in a much more broken down way than he taught me. His methodology was watch and mimic, watch and mimic. And he just wanted me to do it so many times my body figured it out by myself, because that would make it more mine in his mind. And I get that teaching methodology. I feel there's enough complexity even with decent, you know, instruction for you still to make it your own, even with an explanation of the vectors, which is why I teach it this way. But again, my experience in Beijing was, I'm trying to do fixed 8. I know there's a kobu here. I know my hand has to get here. Rough approximation of a circle in the step was how I did fixed 8, or the old 8 rather, for the first couple of years I did the form, because no one taught me all the many coils behind that. And so approximating the shape eventually led to that being boring and not being weight bearing, and me taking the time to figure out exactly what it would take to get to there. Weights like Caro's using made a big difference in my practice, but paying attention to your hips and that timing of the hands to the hips will get you there more rapidly. This is complicated. Any move that a form starts with is very important, just like any move the form ends with is very important. In Chinese culture, the beginning and the end of a thing carry a lot of weight. Like in the classic of Chinese herbology, Ma Huang ephedra is the first herb because it's the king herb of the entire pharmacopoeia. And so it's put first for a reason. In the Bagua Old 8, which is the Codex of Liang Bagua, Shepherd Boy points the way as the first move, because that is the hip coil that is everything else, right? And it's the whole idea of, you know, if you can do this, if it makes sense, it opens up all the pathways for everything else, which is why I spent so much time working on just this movement today and the coordination behind it. Does that make sense? Awesome. Any questions?